Good evening everybody and welcome to our refresher session for the English language. Welcome all those who are here. I know Elsie logged in the first. And then we have Muthu and Amrita and Rupa and Rajashekar and Vidya, Shilpi, Pavani, Bhargav, Anil, Chandra, Viji. Vibhor is there, Kishore is there, Sugita is there, Rupa is there. If some of you have come back after a while, like I haven't seen you in a couple of sessions, so let me know. If anybody is new, let me know. Vijay is here, Sugita is here, Mohan, Joshikant, I didn't see you in the last couple of sessions. Gaikwad is here, Divya, Prabhat, Chandra, okay, the same guys. Tamarin is here, Sindhu is here. Yes, Joshikant, I'm going to take that up. Okay, so Vijay suddenly out of the blue, he's like, say something in Hindi. I don't want to scandalize you, Vijay. Let's start with a positive note. No internet, huh? So sad. So how are you managing then? Hey Naveen. I will sing. Chandra, I'm going to frame this comment. Like I'll take a snapshot and put it on the mail, send it to Rohit. I'll ask support team to do it right now. I like this comment. Anyway, hi Patel, PK. Hi Nihal. So if anybody is new, can you let me know? After all the pleasantries, let's move to today's session. So if you're new, you know that we look at questions from the tests that you've taken, right? Whether weekly tests, daily tests, subject tests, and so yeah. So hopefully you have gone ahead and taken the tests this week. If not, then you will still learn a lot. Rajashekar, hi. Chalo, let's get started without wasting any time. Lots to cover today. Okay, so the first question that we have is what? Fill the blanks, double blanks. The sentence has two blanks. Each blank indicates that something has been omitted. We know that. We are going to have to choose the best words that fit the meaning of the sentence as a whole. Okay, so since we are aware of these question types, what I want to do is those of you who have been attending these sessions regularly, you know by now what strategies we apply, what we look at, all of that, right? So just quickly, let's just try and see how we can get to the answer and what strategy do we use, right? Let's just discuss that alone. Screen is blurred means you change your resolution, or somebody put up the YouTube link. Yeah, so we always know for fill in the blanks it's like collocations or thank you Muthu, or something like that, right? Or some clue word in the context. So for fill in the blanks, ideally, like I said, that will be my first question type that I will attempt in the exam, because for me context is there. There's context will help me choose my answer quickly and I can eliminate wrong answer options. So only 3 or 4 things that I have to look for in terms of strategy for fill in the blanks, either collocations or context clues, or if the context is giving me a positive or a negative meaning, right? Let me just project the question again. So we won't take much time for fill in the blanks. That's supposed to be the easiest question type. That's supposed to be. It may not be for everybody, but I'm saying it should be the easiest question type for all of you. Distressing reports of antibiotic pollution call for urgent steps to dash pollution and dash awareness about the growing reality of antibiotic resistant bacteria. So I read the context and I have a lot of clue words for me. Obviously I'm looking at hint words as well in the context for collocations and all of that. So, and if I look at my first blank and if I look at my options for the first blank, the word is pollution, which is a negative word, right? Obviously, I don't need any other word. I don't want to channel pollution. I don't want to revise pollution. Derail pollution is illogical. And the context is not talking about assessing pollution. It has to be curb pollution, right? You want to put a stop to it. You want to bring an end to this pollution. So, distressing reports of antibiotic pollution call for urgent steps to curb pollution and create awareness. Obviously is a collocation, we know that, right? It's just pure collocation and a little bit of logic because none of the other words will go with pollution other than curb for the first blank. So easy one. Let's look at the next one. It is only just and fair that Indira Gandhi's dash. So Kishore is asking, curb means, I just mentioned that while I was explaining the option. Curb means to stop. To put an end to bring an end to, right? Or in terms of, some sort of a, like Sony says, either you want to reduce it, right? Yeah. Curb violence. So curb is another word that you can quickly associate with other collocations, like you want to curb violence, you want to curb pollution. Let's look at the second blank. Is Divya Mohan and Janvi giving me the options for the second one? Meaning of leash. Where does leash come? It's in the second one, is it? Let's look at it. Or is it in the first one? Leash is in the first one. So assess and leash. Option D, before we go to the next question. Somebody had a question in terms of, what is the meaning of leash in this context? So, does anybody want to answer that question? What do you mean by leash? Usually, you will associate a leash to a dog, right? Can you put a leash on that dog? Meaning, you want to kind of control the dog, right? Sometimes even, not here in India, but abroad, you will even have babies having leashes, right? They don't want the baby to go out of control or move away or wander away. So they'll put a leash. So something that controls your movement, right? That's leash. Are you following? Yeah. So in the context, obviously, you can't say pollution and leash awareness. It's like contradicting. Awareness is to create. You need to spread awareness. You can't put a leash on awareness. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, restrain. Exactly. So you can't restrain awareness, no? Contradictory meaning. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so going back. So most of you came back and gave me what answer option for the second one? B. B. Tamiran, you've said D for the second one? Are you sure? So most of you come back. So if I look at my context again, right, we're talking about Indira Gandhi. So her something, right? What did she do to the nation? So that's a logical question that you can ask and you will get your answer. Bhargav has come back and said C. Kishore also says C. So a lot of you are giving me options between B and C. But if you look at the context, what is the context meaning? It is only just unfair that Indira Gandhi's dash to the nation, something that she's done to the nation, are always dash against her undemocratic imposition of the emergency and brazen introduction of the culture of dynastic succession in Indian politics. So if you look at it, yeah, what sort of a word do we need in the context? Definitely not threat, right? We're talking about See, the blank one needs a word that is addressing something that Indira Gandhi did to the nation. What did she do? This is the second question, Raja. Right? It is only just and fair that Indira Gandhi's, did she threaten the nation? What is uptake? What is the meaning of uptake? Uptake means, anybody? What will you quickly associate uptake to? If I uptake something, I'm taking up something basically, right? Are you following? It's like I am, again it has different meanings, right, as a noun, but here we need a noun form, right? Indira Gandhi is what? Noun form. So, but in this context, you either making use of something that is available or you're taking up something. That's the meaning of uptake, right? So, having said that, what do you think would be the most appropriate option here? Uptake means lift up. Responsibility. See, responsibility is a consequence of, I wouldn't say consequence, it's like phase 2. I take up something, yeah, if I take up something, obviously I'm responsible for it, but the actual direct meaning of uptake is that I'm taking that up, right? So having said that, here, even if I say, okay, Indira Gandhi's contributions or uptake to the nation are always dash against her undemocratic imposition. So, something is working against her, which means I can't use accomplished, right? It's a positive word. For the second blank, it just doesn't make sense to say are always accomplished against her undemocratic imposition. That's just illogical. But what can I do? What can I say is, definitely weighed. I mean, look at all my options. I've already decided that threat is an illogical word for blank one. So is E, detection. What detection? Just not making sense, right? And then to comply. To comply means what? Complied. Agree. Again, I can't use that because it's a positive word. Complied, accomplished, I can't. So, I will eliminate A, C and E and even D, posed. Just doesn't make sense. But weighed in the sense, that's how they are assessing her contributions, right? Unfortunately, it's working against her undemocratic imposition. Yeah? So, it is only just and fair that Indira Gandhi's contributions to the nation are always weighed against her undemocratic impositions. So, they're saying, whatever that she's done, her contributions, whatever work that she's taken up and done towards the nation, right, are always weighed. So, they are constantly assessing, evaluating her contributions, her work, whatever that she's taken up. Yeah? So, it has to be B. There is no doubt here. Right? And because none of the other options, even if I'm confused between option C for the first blank, I just can't use the second blank word, accomplished or complied for that matter. What is the meaning of weighed here, Chandra? You tell me. I just gave you an example, right? If I'm weighing something, which means what? In the context, what does it mean? They are assessing it, right? They are assessing in the context, it talks about, okay, Indira Gandhi did some contributions, okay, but they are trying to evaluate the relevance of it or the importance of her contributions, right? So, they are always weighed against her. So, they are comparing her contribution vis-a-vis what it's actually doing to the nation. Is it really helpful? But unfortunately, it's saying it's always weighed against her undemocratic imposition of the blah blah blah. So here weighed means assessing her contributions, whatever actions that she has done towards the nation. compare, value, measure, yes. And that is the right answer, because we can't use any other options that is there. So if somebody is asking me how come weighed is the right answer for this second blank, because compared to all the other options, none of it is logical, none of it makes sense. Yeah, moving on. The price of an asset has nothing to do with its dash fundamental value, but dash only on the emotions of buyers. So the context is saying so they're saying the price of an asset. So if there's a product, okay, and whatever the price of the product is, the context is trying to say it doesn't matter the value of the product, it matters on the emotions of the buyer. So if I'm in a good mood, even if it is priced high, I will still buy it. Basically I decide, right? If I like it, I'll buy it. If I don't like it, I won't buy it. You can convince me how much ever you want. The value of the product can be whatever it is, but I need to be in the right frame of mind to buy the product. If I really desire it, no matter what the price is, I will buy it, right? That's what the context is saying. Context meaning understood, but most of you have come back and said option A. What about the others? Anybody differs? Anybody has a different answer? But Surya, Indira Gandhi's contribution means her contribution, you know, there's an apostrophe S there, right? Indira Gandhi apostrophe S. Did you notice that? See there before the blank? All these latecomers, you come at whatever time you want, and the first question you ask is, which question are we on? Obviously, if you come at 6:15, 6:20, we would have at least finished one or two questions. That is, if I haven't gone on and on with my introduction. Today, short introduction. Yes, we can. Why not? Yes, we can. This is answering Chandra's question. Okay, going back. So LC says, hey, I think it's B, option B. But for the most part, everybody has come back and said option A. The price of an asset has nothing to do with its dash fundamental value, but dash only on the emotions of buyers. So if you look at option B, LC, it says, but with its mounting fundamental value. What is the meaning of mounting here? Mounting matlab? If something is mounting means what? Somebody just, please don't Google, okay, just for my sake. Just apply context clues and tell me, what can the meaning of mounting be? If I'm putting that in the context. Mounting matlab what? See here, it is acting as a adjective, right? Mounting fundamental value. Meaning what? Hello? Has somebody answered? Increasing, something additional, increasing in amount, going up, increasing, adding, collecting. Yeah. So some of the collocations that I can quickly associate mounting with is mounting pressure, right? Which means the pressure is increasing, the pressure is going up, or mounting evidence. There is so much of evidence that you can quickly identify who the culprit is. Just giving you random collocations, right? So in the context, the price of an asset has nothing to do with its mounting fundamental value. Doesn't make sense. Why? Because they are not talking whether the context is not talking or addressing saying whether it is high or low. Generally they are saying when as a buyer, when I'm buying a product, the factor that goes into account is not the price of the or the value of the product. It is my emotion. It is based on how I feel at that time, right? And what my desire is for that product. So here, mounting would not be the right word because we are not talking about the increase or decrease of the price at all. We're just talking about the price in general. Also, but sets only on the emotion, sets only on the, just doesn't make sense, right? The second blank, second word. So, but what does make sense? Any words that you all don't understand? What is the meaning of grave, hassle, frail? Because sometimes you need to know the meaning of words, right, to eliminate the wrong answer choices. So again, best way to recollect meaning, grave, danger, means what? Serious, imminent, very obvious, huge. Yeah? Hassle, what's a hassle? Yes, already people have asked. So that's why. Let's go word by word. Grave means we know. What is hassle? Hassle means fragile. I don't know which question you're answering though. Hassle. Haven't you heard of hassle? I can say, for some of them, just getting to work can be a hassle. Because of the traffic, it's such an inconvenience. Or, so hassle is some sort of an inconvenience, right? Some sort of a, you could say difficulty, yeah? Something that is in the way, like a hindrance, like a problem. Yes. What about frail? Oh, fragile is for frail, okay? Yes, I agree. Any other words that you don't understand? What is deeming? Deeming means? Again, one of the collocations that I can quickly associate frail with is, frail old woman. Like, she's almost like so old that she can't walk. If I just accidentally push her, something dangerous might happen. Something very intense might happen to the old lady because she's so frail, right? So weak, huh? And then to tackle somebody means to handle them, right? To confront them. Deeming. What's the meaning of deeming? I'll put the question back. Deeming means deeming. Very simple. That's in fact an action word, right? To deem something, yes. To consider in a specific way, yes. Shilpi, right. So I'm looking at something. So I can say, something is deemed as something, regarded as, yes. Deemed university, different. Tamilan, that's a well-known university. That's acting like a adjective there. But here we're looking at deeming as a verb, as an action word. What does it mean, right? So the price of an asset, now that we know all the meanings, I can quickly eliminate all these options which just doesn't make sense, right? The price of an asset has nothing to do with its deeming fundamental value, but adds only on the emotions of buyers. Illogical. The price of an asset has nothing to do with its frail fundamental value. We're not talking about weak or old, out. The price of an asset has nothing to do with its grave fundamental value. No, we're not talking about some danger or something, intense. No. The price of an asset has nothing to do with its mounting. We already said that doesn't just make sense. So the only thing is the price of an asset has nothing to do with its underlying matlab here. Something very basic, right? Basic fundamental value, but, and we have a collocation already, somebody mentioned that, right? Depends only on the emotions of buyer. So, depends on is my collocation, right? Remember? Depends on the emotion, that's it. Yes, I have put the screen, Praveen. So, that's it. So, that's why it is option A. So, those of you who said option A is correct, except for a couple of you who said something else like B or C. Moving on. Smartphones and social media, which dash in lockstep to dash our attention on the smaller screen, have been a great rebundling of new services. So one of the clue words is lockstep, right? What does that mean? Lockstep matlab? Have you heard of this word? Is it a new word? Is it a new and unfamiliar word for a lot of you guys? Some collocations Shilpi's got back, right? In fact, both the blanks have proper collocations. So what's a lockstep? If something is in lockstep means, you've heard the word in tandem, the phrase in tandem, T-A-N-D-E-M. To work in tandem, to work in lockstep. These are all actually collocations, phrases, right? So lockstep means combined together, yes, working side by side, right? That's what it means. So work in tandem also same meaning, to work together, right? So smartphones and social media, both of these are working in tandem, are working in lockstep to do what? To focus our attention, focus on. This is another collocation that we know, right? Our attention on the small screen have been a great rebundling of new services. That's it. Nothing else makes logical sense at all. Which empower in lockstep? No. Which dodge? What is the meaning of dodge? Like if somebody throws a ball at me and if I duck, I'm dodging the ball, right? Doesn't make sense in the context, right? To dodge in lockstep. To enact in lockstep? No. We're not talking about acting here. What is the meaning of fray? Option E, F-R-A-Y. Fray. Fray means, Sony, I just said why it can't be 2, right? Because of dodge. And if you look at the context, Sony, the context is saying something positive, no? And dodge is a negative word. I don't need dodge. I'm talking about, hey, smartphones and social media are working together to do something, right? The context is positive. In fact, that will be the first option that I will eliminate. But if you don't know the meaning of dodge, yes, I understand. You can get stuck. What is the meaning of fray, guys? F-R-A-Y means what? Focus our attention on. Okay, nobody is giving me the answer. Basically, fray means like, I mean, now it's become fashion, right? If you look at our jeans and all, at the bottom, if the threads start coming out, that means the jeans is frayed, okay? But another meaning for frayed is if somebody is frayed, which means they're getting irritated, they're getting annoyed, right? Like somebody is upsetting you, that's when you get frayed. Okay, are you following? So if you don't get access to the portal, let's say for one whole week, you'll get frayed. Like, what the heck is happening? Why don't I have access to this portal? My password is correct, my username is correct, what's wrong? You get frayed, you get annoyed, you get upset. Okay, not mishap. So in the context again, which fray and lockstep just doesn't make sense, right? So E also is out. So the answer is to work in lockstep, that's our collocation, and focus on is another collocation. That's it. Can you hear birds? Kuldeep, what you're saying is, in terms of a noun, right? In terms of a noun, that's why I'm saying if like if the cloth that I'm wearing, right, if it's an old one, wear and tear, I've used it so many times that the threads in the cloth start coming out, yes, that is what fray is. And that can, instead of saying constant rubbing, I think you've taken the literal meaning online. But basically what it means is, as a noun, it means that your cloth is, a good example would be your jeans, the jeans that you wear, right? Now it's become fashion. Like if threads come out, it's a fashion. The second is adjective. Are, Surya? At the beginning of the sentence only, I already explained what lockstep. Lockstep means work together. Cuckoo bird, you can hear cuckoo bird. Okay, chalo. I am getting your messages. But I got the cuckoo bird message really fast. 6:34, I'm looking at the time of the system and the chat. Swag. What does that mean, Chandra? Chalo, next one. Capital goods and infrastructure players dash to report more dash trends than consumer facing firms. What can be the answer? Anybody knows the meaning of abate? Option D, if I'm assuming that could be a new and unfamiliar word for a lot of you. And if there's any other word that you don't understand, also tell me. Abated here is used as a verb, right? What's the meaning of abate? Option D, first one. I know most of you are coming back and giving me between B and C. Capital goods and infrastructure players dash to report more dash trends than consumer facing firms. So let's understand the context, Shubham. What is the meaning of abated? Reduce, separate. See, for example, abate means less, decrease in intensity. Yes, so like a desire for something can abate, as in it can go less, right? Yeah. Some sort of a, like you guys said, decrease in intensity or reduce or, yeah, which is fine. So, capital goods and infrastructure players abated to report, this doesn't make sense, right? Now that you know the meaning. So, Surya, this is for you, explaining all the, Surya or Shubham, one of you guys who didn't understand. Sufficed. Sufficed means enough. Capital goods and infrastructure players suffice to report, again illogical, out, option E. Option C, capital goods and infrastructure players continue to report. So something that is progressing, it happened, right? So they continue to report, they continue to do something. Even as a grammatical construction, continue to do, to report, makes sense. We'll keep that in the parking lot. Bunched, what is to bunched? To huddle together, right? Came together. Capital goods and infrastructure players bunched to report more complaint trends. Just not making sense. Fostered. Fostered means what? To foster something. I'm going to put the options back. What is the meaning of foster? Option A. To foster means what? You've heard of foster children? Foster child, foster care. That's the collocation that you can quickly associate foster with, right? Foster care, foster home, foster child. Fostered here as a verb means what? Encourage, promote, to strengthen. Foster means basically to take care, no? Like in that context, if I'm saying foster child, foster care, foster whatever, we're talking about something that will take care. Not foster, yeah, I can say something that fostered his growth. Yeah. So in that context, can I say capital goods and infrastructure players fostered to report more? Just doesn't make sense again. Yeah. Whatever, even if I look at all your options that you given, sponsor, encourage, promote. So it has to be option C, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. And what is the meaning of sluggish? Sluggish means, even if you don't know the meaning, you can close your eyes and choose option C because of the first blank. Continue to report sluggish. Anything that is sluggish is something that slackens, right? It doesn't show positive fast growth, yeah. Something that slows down things, right? So somebody can be sluggish in the way they carry themselves, as in they're so inactive and, you know, just no strength in them, yeah. So that person can be called a sluggish person. So in the context, we don't need that. I mean, that is exactly what we need, sorry. Capital goods and infrastructure players continue to report more sluggish trends than consumer-facing firms is our answer, option C. Yeah. So in the context, we're talking about, obviously, something that is not progressing as expected, something that is slowing down activity. So sluggish is an adjective describing the trends where there is not enough action happening. Chalo. Next one. Oh, that was it. Okay, fill in the blanks is done. Sluggish pitch to bat on. Sluggish is like lazier than lazy. Okay. So the next context is, so if you ask me, except for a couple of options where maybe you didn't know the meaning of the words, that's where you got stuck. Otherwise, fill in the blanks would ideally be the first question type that you should attempt, because you will get the answer fast and you'll get the correct answer fast, right? Hopefully, you know all the meaning of the options. Yeah, we're going to move to the larger context, which is close passage. Yeah, you don't have to be confused with the option 1, Surya, because fostered, we just saw the meaning of fostered is to strengthen and to care for and to bolster. Those are the meanings, right? So capital goods and infrastructure players fostered to report illogical. No. No, no, no. Yes, Vijay, agreed. So let's look at our larger context, which is close passage, which is the next one. Joshikant, this is for you. You specifically asked for close passage. Here it is. So what do we do for close passage? We skim the passage, understand the meaning, and then we're going to look at options. The same strategies that we applied for fill in the blanks is what we will apply for this as well, right? We look for collocations, we look for context clues, we look for if the meaning is positive or negative, blah, blah, blah. Looking at the central theme or main idea of the passage, we will choose associated words. And remember, there will always be a clue for the blank 1 in blank 4 or next to blank 4 or next to blank 5. So context, context, context. Let's read. Foreign trade in general terms can be defined as a trade among dash countries. It refers to the exchange of goods and dash between one country and another. It is also known as international trade. Since India was a British colony, the dash of its foreign trade before 1947 was typically colonial. It served as a supplier of dash and raw materials to the industrial nations, particularly England, and as an importer of manufactured goods. The dash of exports was high and imports took the back seat. So what is the central theme or context? I'm going to project the screen again. For those of you who did not take the test, please go through and tell me what is the central idea of the passage. Main, if you have to give a title for this passage, what will it be? Trade, trade, export and import. Yeah, trading, right, Rajshekar? It's not about foreign trading. It's about, yeah, foreign trade in general terms, agreed, that's what they're discussing about. But if I have to like zero in on one word, I'll say trade. That involves import, export, obviously. That's all part of the trading, which is the larger context. So, and if I look at option 1, right, did one of you say economic, okay, Nishi's like export and import, economic affair for export, import, trade affair. Okay, fine. Yeah. So obviously we'll have to look for associated terms, right? And if I look at my option 1, I already have a couple of you telling me option B, and 1 or 2 of you even said option A. Okay, so let's look at it. So foreign trade in general terms can be defined as a trade among dash countries. My options are poor, different, rich, similar, western. Just apply pure logic and you tell me what can be the answer, right? I can't believe I'm having different answers for this blank. In fact, except C, I have all the answers. Somebody said A, somebody said B, somebody said D, somebody said E also. I want you to look at trading in general, right? And say which will be the most effective option. Can I? And there is a it is addressing a particular country as well, right? Just because it says foreign trade, I can't exclusively say it's only Western countries, right? Then is India a Western country? Look at the context. What does the context say? I have to eliminate option E, right? I can't exclusively say foreign trade will happen only between or among Western countries. No. Do you think India is a Western country? Huh. And what does it mean by similar countries? Similar in what? First of all, countries are not similar, right? Everything about each country is different. Our internal affairs, in fact, within India, the states itself, our internal affairs is different, right? So, cannot be option D. Does it happen only among rich countries? No. What about the poor countries? They also make some sort of trade, right? Because something is growing in their country as well. They also have to make money. So I can't exclusively say either poor or rich countries, right? The only logical answer has to be option B, different countries, right? Some of you have said exactly, Nishi, right? So it cannot be poor or rich. It's not about whether if the country is poor, they will do trade. No, that just doesn't make sense. So whoever said option A, absolutely incorrect, right? Just think about it. If trading is happening, which means you have the means to do that, that itself makes you, disqualifies you being poor, right? If you're poor, you really can't afford to trade. And trading is not exclusive to rich countries. Okay, Sony, taken, feedback taken, we'll take it back. Yeah, exactly. So, Ahuja has put some example of poor countries also trading. So, it's not about poor or rich. And it very specifically says the first line, in general terms, can be defined as a trade among different countries, right? That makes absolute sense. Let's move on to the second blank. It refers to the exchange of goods and dash between one country and another. My options for blank 2 is services, items, materials, supply, objects. Here, blank 2 only needs a collocation. What is a collocation? The associated word. What is the associated word? That's it, Tamilan and everybody else who said option A, right? Goods and services. That's it, period. We are exchanging not only products, we are also exchanging services. That's what it is. Materials are inclusive. When you say goods, it takes care of, it's the same meaning as materials and supply and objects and items. So it has to be something different than that, right? If you notice, you can't get confused with blank 2. Somebody said option B. Somebody is saying items. No, right? if you actually look at the options, items, material, supply, objects, all four can fall under the category of goods. So the only option that is left is services, and in fact goods and services is a collocation. है ना? So it has to be option A. Let's move on. Blank 3. It is also known as international trade. Okay, great. Since India was a British colony, the dash of its foreign trade before 1947 was typically colonial. Right? So they're describing something about India's trade. Right? So, and if I look at my context, my options are style, pattern, formula, form and working. The dash of its trade. So, obviously I need a noun form here. Right? So, what will I quickly eliminate? I will eliminate option E. It's not a noun form. I have to choose between style, pattern, formula and form. All four are noun forms. But in the context, it's saying the dash of its foreign trade before 1947 was typically colonial. What's the meaning of colonial? Let's try and understand the context, right? Colonial means what? That might point us in the right direction towards selecting the right answer option. So, colonial here is was typically colonial, meaning hello, are you guys giving me the answer? Form or pattern? I'm still waiting for answer for colonial. Nearby, limited to some countries, temporary together, limited. Okay. With some boundaries, limitation, yes, obviously, right? Our clue word is before 1947, which means we're talking about before independence, right? So, before independence, we were under the rule of the British, right? That's what it is called, the colonial rule. So, in the context, right? So, what word can I bring in here? We're not talking about style, we're not talking about some formula. And necessarily not even the form. The most effective word can be pattern, right? What is the meaning of pattern in the context? I'm going to project the context again. When I say pattern, what comes to your mind? Structure, yes. So, we are talking about how something is done. The pattern means the process, right? The process in which something is done or something is taken care of, or the procedure basically, right? Patterns have different meanings, but here we are talking about the way in which something is done, right? So, we are not talking about, what do I say? A particular code or a specific formula. No, that's why option C is incorrect. We're not even talking about the shape, form, matlab shape, right? We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the style in which, I don't think we had a choice there, right? It has to be pattern. Since India was a British colony, it's specified there, the pattern of its foreign trade, as in the procedure or the manner in which the trade happened, the way in which something took place before 1947 was typically colonial, right? Pattern is our answer. So they're saying something that, yes, when I say pattern, which also means something that happened regularly. So before 1947, this was the case. Because it was a British colony, because we were under that rule, right? The pattern of how the trade happened in India was colonial. Moving on, it served as a supplier of dash and raw materials. Options: foodstuffs, arms, nuclear energy, aircraft and coal. Here you have a hint word, you have the hint word and synonym hint word, and then I have raw materials. So what can I choose for blank 4? You tell me. Which means I have to choose an option which brings in the same meaning as raw materials. Which option does that for me? Most of you have come back and said A. Anybody has anything different? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a different answer? Coal, okay. C, nuclear energy. So most of you have come back and said E. Arms. So basically you've given me all the options except aircraft. I have A, B, C and E, right? Arms means, in the context, what can it mean? Somebody asked, arms matlab? Here arms means you're talking about military ammunition, right? Weapons. See, remember, we're talking about a period before independence, okay? So, what were we rich in at that time? What were we known for? Apply a little bit of general knowledge also. In the context, we definitely did not have the power of weapons or nuclear energy, aircraft. Coal, I don't know. It's very limited in terms of trade, right? I wouldn't have been a supplier only for that. What India is known for is agriculture, right? So if that is the case, the obvious thing has to be foodstuffs, no? Look at the context. That's also a good point, Vijay, because coal kind of is covered under the raw material. None of these, it seems. Banu, you have to choose one option. Unfortunately, you don't have an option F saying none of these. You have to choose one of those options. Why not E? Because raw materials kind of covers that bit. Why would I segregate one of the raw materials and put it before in the previous blank? I would rather talk about what else was India supplying, right, other than the raw materials. GV, we just spoke about arms, meaning weapons. I don't think India was a supplier of weapons before independence. It has to be A, boss. That's why I said just apply a little bit of general knowledge as well. To the industrial nations, particularly England, and as an importer of manufactured goods. Right? We had a lot of skilled laborers. Now, the last context. Because none of the other options makes logical sense. Even if I have to choose any of the other options, is it mentioned anywhere in the context? It's not about each one of these can be supplied. We're talking about what did India supply. right? We're not looking at the options and saying, oh, can arms be supplied? Yes. Can nuclear energy be supplied? Can aircraft be supplied? Can coal be supplied? That's a different answer. In the context, we are referring specifically to what India served as a supplier. How did India serve as a supplier? Are you guys with me? Option 5. The dash of exports was high and imports took the back seat. Options: quality, rate, cost, income, volume. Your clue word is high. Nishi, India is rich in coal. I don't disagree with that. But I'm saying coal is covered in raw materials and raw materials. Coal is covered in that category. Okay? The dash of exports is high and imports took the backseat. The what? So in terms of import and export, I hope you understand that meaning, right? Export out, going out from the country, import coming in. So they're saying the dash of exports was high and imports took the back seat. So is it quality? Is it a rate? Is it cost? Is it income? Or is it volume? What can be the most logical one? Though we have a lot of collocations, right? I can say the cost is high, or the rate is high, or the income is high, but we're not talking about collocations. We're talking about the context and trying to figure out what are they trying to say. Imports took a back seat. Why that happened? What could have been a possibility? Why were we not getting more? Because we were under the rule of the British, right? And most of them were trying to exploit the resources that we had. So obviously things were going out in larger number towards the other countries, right? Towards industrial nations. So what can be the answer? Please understand, we didn't afford to, we were not under the, we did not have the freedom to sell our stuff at a high price. We are still talking about under their rule, under the British rule, which means we were exploited, our resources were exploited. So in terms of rate and cost and income is, not applicable here in the context, which means it has to be so much bulk went out of our country, right? We got exploited. Most of the resources were, it has to be volume, not quality. Because the quality was high, the volume shot up, right? Because of the good quality, the volume shot up. And that's why import took the back seat. We didn't receive much, we gave much. Are you guys following? Yeah, so here we're talking about just the sheer size of the resources that went out of the country. Okay. No, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, I would agree that you can get confused with the options because you're looking at collocations, you seem everything is applicable, But you'll also have to fall back on the context, rely on the context, understand the setting, in which era it's happening. What are they talking about? We're talking about, we're still under the rule of the British. You know, our pattern of the trade is colonial, which means we did not have a lot of freedom to do what we wanted to do at that time, right? We were getting exploited, right? So you'll have to keep that in mind. That's why context is important. So we're going to move to the next question type, which is what? Spot the error. Let's read spot the error. We know the drill. Government has announced many sector-specific initiatives, including that for electronics and textile sectors. B, and implemented ease of doing business reforms. C, for improving trade and port infrastructure. D. What am I? मगर possible नहीं तो Vijay. That is my problem. Seriously, dude, if it was possible, I would have explained. Why? Why? What is my clue word? What's my clue word? So, Janavi, why are you saying change that to those? Is there anything that is helping you arrive at that answer? BC, BC, CC. Okay, that I know, but what made you choose that, Divya? That is singular, those is plural. Yes, correct. All of them agree. How come you chose that, Divya? Pavani says because the subject is plural. What is the subject? Initiatives. Okay. So some of them are saying part C. See, Shilpi is saying part C. Arey, nahi baba, Joshikant. See, the clue is in part 1, part A. Why? Because the plural subject is initiatives. Because of the clue in part A, the error is in part B, where that is referring to, you failed in AM because of this question, where it is referring to singular, but I need plural. That's why I changed that to those. Okay. So Divya is coming and saying two things, so plural, electronics and textile sectors. Okay. Either ways, parallel structure government has and has. Okay. No, but what you need to understand, Sony, here is government has announced, meaning the announcement could have taken place a little earlier as well, right? But it is relevant to the present context. The announcement didn't happen right now, right? Not current, but the process of making that announcement or the action of doing that announcement started sometime in the past. Has announced, right? But it has bearing now. That announcement is coming to you now, right? The announcement was made. So, government has announced many sector-specific initiatives, including those for electronics and textile sectors, and implemented ease of doing business reform. So, the general context is in the past. The announcement is relevant to you right now, but what they have done is this. They have implemented ease of doing business reforms to improve trade and port infrastructure. Yeah. So, in terms of tense, you don't have to really change anything there, right? I can, for example, SBI has announced that it is changing the number of seats, right? Earlier they said some 2000 odd seats are available, now they are saying 3000 plus seats are available, right? So the announcement of that happened some time back, but is it relevant to you now? Yes, it is. That's why it's a present perfect tense. So that way you don't have to make any changes there. And in terms of, and as a result of that announcement, they've already done certain things, right? So that can be in past tense as well. Doesn't matter. The meaning is intact, the grammar is intact. I don't have to make any changes there. Yeah? So the error actually isn't, like most of you said, is in part B. Yes, I changed that to those. Remember, somebody said electronics and textile sectors as a clue, but that's not the clue. The clue is they have included those initiatives, including those initiatives for these sectors, electronic and textile sectors, okay? Don't get confused understanding the meaning of what the context is trying to convey. Next one. Widespread monsoon rains have boosted the plants of key kharif crops such as rice, pulses and oilseeds, raising the prospects of a good servant. Yes, you are very late, Nagini. No, that's okay. Where do you think the error is? And why? Understand the entire context, okay? Why? Why do you have to change that? Can somebody tell me? Somebody said, Divya, tell me, why you want to change plants to planting? What does it mean? I'm sure you've taken the test, that's why you know the answer. Now tell me why, but why? Rain can boost production of crops. Rain can boost, okay. Crops undergo planting. Planting of crops. I will explain, Sony. But I want the earlier answer. Boosted the plants looks incorrect. Why does it look incorrect? Rains, which means we're talking about more than one occasion. So have is fine as a plural verb complementing the subject. No idea, simply skip it seems, Surya. No, I am asking specifically people who said change this to that. Why? That's my question. Right? Like Raj Kumar also said that, Divya also said that. Why is my question. Mohan. Why? Okay, what is the meaning of boost here in the context? Boost means, what does it mean? I'll put the context again. What does it mean? increase, 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 increase in intensity, not amount, I guess. Increased. Okay, everybody saying increased only. Increase. Okay, so mostly when I say something is boosting something, it's either improving it or strengthening it, right? In this context we're talking about, we're obviously referring to plants, right? So obviously it has to be some and if you look at the remaining context, it says raising the prospects of a good harvest. That's a clue phrase for you, right? Raising the prospects of a good harvest, meaning some process that you're doing which is helping these plants grow in a flourishing manner. So there is plenty of it, there is abundance of it, and that's why it's a good harvest, right? Raising the prospects of a good harvest. So if you look at the context, the rains have have kind of helped the process of something, right? This particular crops. So in the context, we are saying the rains, because we're talking about the prospects of a good harvest, we're saying what is the process that was involved in the process of producing a good harvest? I planted these crops, which is rice and pulses and oil seeds, right? So the process led to a good harvest. The plants didn't lead to a good harvest. The process of me planting these crops and the rains kind of helping in the process led to a good harvest, right? Understand the meaning of the context. So if you apply a little bit of logic, you can say that the plants did not help raise the prospects of a good harvest. I did something, and the rains also were in favor of my action of planting those crops, and that's what helped in raising the prospects of a good harvest. The plants by themselves can't do that, no? Two things have to happen. If I plant a seed, one, I have to pour water, I have to take care of it, I have to do that first bit, right? That first bit is what is, so the process is what I need, not the product itself. Are you following? That's why the plants is incorrect. And it has to be the planting, the process of me doing that, the planting of these crops and the rain adding to it helped in raising the prospects of a good harvest. Yeah, that's why the error is in part B. Are you following? Yeah, so just put 2 and 2 together. The idea is for us to understand the context as well. Let's look at the next one. Beside the high-speed train, India and China have agreed to cooperate to increase speeds on the existing railway line from Chennai to Mysore via Bengaluru. Where is the error? Is there an error at all? But Gokul says part C. Tamarin says part A. So it's between A and C. So those who say A, Y. Those who say C, Y. Give me your answer explanation. Excuse me. Besides instead of beside, okay. what about those who said option C? What do you want to change there? Some of you came back and said part C, right? What is wrong with that? Anything you want to say? Are you guys there? I'm not getting your chat. Waiting speeds should be changed into speed. Okay, Gokul says that. The speed of the existing, okay. What do you guys think? See, I agree that most of you have come back and said that the error is in part A, because obviously, right, beside is more of a preposition or an adverb where it says in addition or next to, right? So obviously I need to change that to besides, no doubt about it, right? Besides the high speed train, apart from that or in addition to that, India and China have agreed to cooperate to increase speeds on the existing railway line from Chennai to Mysuru via Bangalore. Okay. And some of you came back and said speeds. Now, grammatically, speeds is the plural form, noun form of speed. Have we looked at that? Have we come across those that particular plural noun number in other example sentences? Yes. So grammatically, it's correct, and in the context, it does make sense because we're looking at India and China have agreed to cooperate to increase the speeds on the existing railway line, meaning obviously we're talking about more than one trains plying on the line, right, from Chennai to Mysuru via Bengaluru. So we're talking about the speeds of those individual trains, which will be many trains at the end of the day. So I don't necessarily have to change that. In fact, even if I feel that is an error, there is a more obvious error in part A, right? I would not pay attention to the error in part C because it's really not an error. If I look at the context, we're talking about more than one train plying on that particular railway line. So, besides but is very obvious, right? I can't say next to the high speed train. He sits beside me. Right, that's the meaning, and that's not the meaning the context needs. The context is talking about apart from, in addition to the high speed train. Yeah, so obviously the error is in part A, change beside to besides. That's the more obvious error. Even if you're confused between the other part, you can choose the most obvious error, which is changing the entire meaning of the context, right? So your priority should be option A and not any other part A and not any other part. So basically the context is talking about, boss, in that existing railway line, whatever trains are plying, we are, let's increase the speed on each and every train that plies on that railway line. So that manner, speeds is fine. Okay, from Chennai to Bangalore. So whichever train plies from Chennai to Bangalore, Chennai to Mysuru via Bangalore, we will increase the speed. Huh? So I forced madam to explain. Okay, fine. Vijay is explaining something to Sony. Some conversation happening there. But we're going to move to the next error type. Not error type, question type. Let's see what it is. Reading comprehension. Okay. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. There are some 3 smaller paragraphs, 2 really small, and then big 2. Is that right? It's wrong. If that's the key that's given, it's incorrect. It has to be part A. I'll have the support team change that, but the error is in part A. Okay, going back to our next question. It looks like yeah, I think there's been an error, so we'll get that changed. Yes, Kishore, this is the last question, but we're not going to do this completely, right? We're just going to quickly look at a couple of, just to reinforce and reiterate how we approach reading comprehension, because most of them this is a challenging question type and something that you ideally skip, right? Don't do that. Attempt the questions, and I've already shared with you strategies. For those of you who are new, all you need to do is, I'm guessing it'll be at definitely more than 750, Shubham. It doesn't matter, right? Even if it's 800 words, say. That must have been a typo, Baba. Ye kaun hai? Divya, yeah, it must have been a typo. I'll ask the support team to change it. As long as the explanation is correct, right? So it must have been a typo error from their end for the previous spot theory question. Anyway, so here for reading comprehension, I've always told this, 2 ways you can do this, but either ways you decide to do it, skim the questions first, right? That's our step 1. Why? Because we are looking for keywords. We're also looking at sometimes if you have the time when you're planning to, because we're choosing what, it's not difficult, Praveen. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll look at a couple of questions and see if it is really difficult or not. But from my understanding, okay, I've always applied the same approach and it has always worked for me. Instead of losing out completely on 10 marks or 8 marks or 7 marks for RC, I will ensure I will at least get 5 marks without even reading the passage, right? We know that. First attempt vocabulary question. Why? Word is already highlighted in the passage. I don't have to search for it. I don't have to waste time. I will look at where that word is appearing in the context, apply context clues, figure out whether I need a synonym or an antonym. Khatam, ho gaya. So vocabulary questions, there will at least be 3, 4, 5. Even if there is one, okay, chalo. At least I get that 1 point. Then the only question that I will not attempt in reading comprehension is what is true according to the passage, what is not true according to the passage, because that requires me to read the entire passage. Something that I will not attempt. Those questions I will not attempt. But all the other questions which are very specific in detail, because I like to, what do I say? I like to scan. I have an eye for detail, which you should also develop if you don't have, right? So I will identify keywords in the questions and look for that. And the best part is at least 2 questions will be in the opening or the topic sentence or the closing sentence of the paragraph. Opening topic sentence, closing sentence, topic sentence, closing sentence. It will be there for sure. 1 mark at least you will get, boss. So now let's just quickly, just for us to see if the strategy actually works for all the passages. Yes, it does. It does. Look at the first question. It says, why according to the author only monetary policy cannot contain inflation completely? So for me, in this context, the keyword is monetary policy. Okay, I will only look for this in the paragraph. I will scan for monetary policy. Next, what are the points of difference between the RBI and the government? RBI and government are my keywords. Obviously, these are the 2 subjects, but I want to know how do they differ. Okay, answer in the context of the passage. Chalo, I will keep this in mind. Which of the following statements is not true in the context of the passage? By. I'm not going to look at it now. What are the fallout of the inflation going beyond limit? Answer in the context of the passage. Fallout of inflation going beyond limit. This is my clue. I'm going to look for this. Why does the government insist on lowering of rates? That's another key phrase for me. I need to look for this. Then I have a vocabulary question. It says, the RBI has generally been hawkish about inflation. Which of the following words expresses the meaning of the word hawkish as used in the above statement? So already they've given a statement here where I don't even have to rely on the passage. I will do this first, right? Let's do it. The RBI has generally been hawkish about inflation. My options are accommodating, aggressive, neutral, non-committal, nervous. Now, even if I am not able to figure out the meaning of hawkish in this one statement, I will go back and look for where hawkish comes. In the context, read the previous sentence, read the following sentence, figure it out, answer it, which is what I'm going to do. Which of the following statements is true about the above passage? No, sorry, I will not do that. Okay, so let's do the vocabulary question first. Okay, it seems like there are 7 questions from this passage. So I didn't quite get the meaning of hawkish from here. The RBI has generally been hawkish about inflation. So I'm just going to quickly look for hawkish in the context, and there it is in bold right here in the first paragraph. Let's read the sentence before and after. Okay, it says, where does it say? The point is relevant because, so let's read the whole thing. Yeah, the debate on inflation targeting has come to the fore once again, as Raghuram Rajan. Come to the fore meaning has been brought to light. Somebody has, that's the hot topic right now. In a statement, N.T. Subbarao and his memoirs have expressed compelling views on this issue. The point is relevant because the perceived conflict between the Reserve Bank of India and the Finance Ministry over the years has centered on it. The RBI has generally been hawkish about inflation, while the government has been arguing for lower rates from the point of view of growth. So, which means, obviously, there is a contradiction between what the RBI thinks and what the government thinks. The government has been arguing for lower rates from the point of view of growth, but RBI has generally been hawkish about inflation. So looking at the context and looking at my options, I can easily say that the RBI seems pretty strong, seems pretty intense about their views on inflation, right? So if I have to choose my own, I have already applied 2 of my own words, which is intense and strong. And I'm looking at my options. The only word that is closer to my substituted words are option B, aggressive, and not option C. They are not neutral. Complete differing. RBI is hawkish about inflation, while the government is, they want to lower the rates. Right? So it definitely RBI is not neutral. That's the first option that you will eliminate. And it's not accommodating, it's not non-committal, and it's definitely not nervous, which is an unrelated word. We're not talking about any emotions here, right? So it has to be aggressive. I got 1 mark here. I didn't read the passage. The previous question, it says, why does the government insist on the lowering of rates? Okay, I'm going to go back. So I'm looking at where can this appear? Lowering of rates, lowering of rates. I need to kind of scan for this, right? That's one of the things you need to develop, right? When I say I for detail, scan for, phrases like this. You just have to be very quick in skimming. But if you're someone who says, you know what, I think I'll waste more time doing this, then it's best to read the entire passage. And for a passage as long as this, you shouldn't spend more than 3 minutes reading the entire passage. I'm giving you options how to approach, right? So if you're saying, you know what, I'm not very good at scanning, I might waste time doing that. Okay, read the entire passage. But your reading fluency should be very good, which means you know to read fast, you also understand what you read. You already have the clue phrases in mind, right? So if you're a little focused, you'll be able to recollect what those key phrases are and look for those phrases while you're reading the passage, right? 3 minutes, which is not a bad time to complete a passage. Decent amount of time that you can allot for reading comprehension. I would say for a passage with this length, at least 5 minutes if you can allot, great. Which means all the other questions you should finish off in 10 minutes, 10-12 minutes, right? Because you don't have much time. 15 minutes would be ideal for the English section, if you ask me, in total. So if you take off 5 minutes for RC, the remaining 10 minutes you have to finish all the other questions, including jumble sentence. That's why people skip RC, because they don't have the time. So where were we? Yeah, coming back to the approach, right? And I will not spend a lot of time. If this is taking too much time, I'll just move on again. So I'm looking at the context. Yeah, I'm not really getting the answer. I'm going to move to the next question, okay? I'm literally doing it like I would do it in the exam. Then it says, what are the fallout of the inflation going beyond limit? Answer in the context of the passage. There are 3 options given. Fallout of the inflation. I got inflation here. Second paragraph, let's read. The rationale is that a minimum inflation is needed to encourage economic activity. But beyond a point, easy money creates excess demand forces which push up prices. This is the classic case of demand pull inflation, which monetary policy can curb by increasing interest rates or reserves or going in for open market operations to handle liquidity. And if I look at my options, in fact, it has covered all of it. It says, option A says, there arises a situation of excessive demand in the market. The price of goods increases due to excessive demand. A situation of demand pull inflation arises. I have a feeling it has covered all 3 points. Don't you agree? I mean, look at the context. Excess demand forces which push up prices? Yes. Point B, excessive demand. Yeah. This is a classic case of demand pull inflation. Point C, a situation of demand pull inflation arises. Yes. Which monetary policy can curb by increasing interest rates or reserves or going in for open market operations to handle inquiry. That's the first point. There arises a situation of excessive demand in the market. That's it. A, B, C. It has to be all A, B, C because all 3 points are covered in that paragraph. And what paragraph was that? It was an individual paragraph, right? It's a second paragraph. After the first chunky big paragraph, the second one has given me an answer to a question. 1 mark here again. Then, what else do we have? What's the next one? Not true, I'm not doing it by. Points of difference between RBI and government. Answer in the context of the passage. Now, this I already know because I'm looking at my options, okay? Option A says the government wants to contain inflation while the RBI wants to bring down the CPI. The RBI is hawkish about inflation while the government is in favor of lowering rates. I already know this is true, right? Because when I was looking for hawkish, it's the same context, which means in one question, I have an answer to another question. Now, this is something that you constantly need to look out for, which means by answering one question, I might get an answer to another question also. So, I gain 2 marks just by attempting one question, which is a good thing, right? And that's always something that you need to look out for. The government wants to keep aside the monetary policy while the RBI is not ready for it. No. In fact, if you ask me for this, it can be only option B, right? Because that is directly supported by the passage. We have the sentence, right? Right there. So, option B. Why, according to the author, only monetary policy cannot contain inflation completely? Monetary policy is my keyword. My options are monetary policy has less control. Inflation is a global phenomenon. Only India's monetary policy cannot contain it because the decision to spend depends on demand, and in absence of demand, even lowering of rates does not work. So, I'm going to look for monetary policy, right? And as I skim, look here, the last paragraph, it says the main takeaway is that monetary policy is one aspect of the framework which can work only to a limited extent for 2 reasons. First, we are targeting an inflation rate over which the policy has less control. Second, even if rates are lower, the decision to spend is a demand side issue and hence has met with little success. There you go. That's your answer right there. Which is what? Which options does it address? This whole monetary policy thing. A, no? Only A and C is mentioned. Has less control over inflation rate. That's the first reason. Second is not B but C. The decision to spend depends on demand, and in absence of demand, even lowering of rates does not work. That's what it says. Second, even if rates are lower, the decision to spend is a demand side issue and hence has met with little success. So, what is my answer for this? Only A and C, right? So, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This took long time, so I didn't attempt it, but I'm sure this also is there somewhere where you can, if you have the time, you can. So basically what I'm trying to say is, don't skip RC. Don't do that, okay? Attempt the vocabulary questions first. And while you do that, in the process, work around identifying keywords from questions. Try and scan for them. And if you're somebody who's saying, no, I end up wasting a lot more time doing that, then just read the passage quickly, right? But while you're reading, keep looking for those clue phrases, which means you should have done step 1 initially, which is analyzing the questions. Yeah. So this approach, I'm telling you, if you get into the habit of approaching RC this way and being very quick, right, you will gain some points. The objective is to maximize our points. We don't want to lose out on point some percentage. And instead of completely skipping RC, this approach should work for you, right? And at the same time, obviously, simultaneously keep developing your reading fluency also. Don't just let that be. Yeah. How to maintain accuracy in error spotting, ma'am? Maintaining accuracy in error spotting will come only with you being absolutely thorough with your basic grammar, right? 1, 2, at least be aware of what are all the possible error types. And 3, practice to such an extent where you don't, what do I say? You don't second guess that, oh, you know what, this part can be the answer. Oh no, maybe this part also has an answer. You don't get to that point. And that will happen only with continuous practice, where you, as soon as you read the sentence, even if you don't know the explanation or the reason behind it, you know that this part, something is awkward, something is funny, something is missing, this has to be where the error is, right? You may not understand that, oh, this is a noun number error, or this is a dangling modifier error. That's not what is required for you to answer in the exam as well. So accurate error spotting for me is basically to be thorough in terms of, if I read a sentence, I should automatically know that this sentence is incomplete or there is an error. And how can that happen? Only if I'm very strong in my basic grammar. That's it, as simple as that. Yeah, I need to know the concept of if there is incomplete meaning, which means either a preposition is missing, right, or is incorrect. Are you following? Yeah. So you will have to immediately know. And if the words, you should get into a habit of identifying, okay, this is the subject, which means I need to look for if the verb is in line with the subject, things like that. Yeah. So we've come to the end of the session. We're going to close now. I know somebody asked for jumble sentence. Whoever asked that, can you put it up in the discussion forum? I can answer it there, because it's not part of this session. I think because we looked at quite a lot of jumble sentences, and keeping in mind time, they've put down these many questions. But I'll be more than happy to answer the jumble sentence question as well. Hey, what's that guy's name? Anil. Is Anil here? Anil, did you happen to see my explanation last session, when we had our last session? I think it was Saturday, problem solving session. You had one very interesting question. I would advise all of you to go take a look at that question that Anil posted in the discussion forum. I think it was 7 days back. So those of you who haven't gone through, it looks like a new pattern, very interesting. Not an alien concept to us, the concept that we're very familiar with. It's just vocabulary or conjunctions based questions, moreover, besides, options like that, and you'll have to connect sentences, right? We're talking about connectors. Yeah. So if Anil is here, I don't know, I responded to that question, I explained it. So post interesting questions like that, and we can discuss it there. Yeah, that's the purpose of the forum, to discuss challenging questions. So make use of the available resources, and hopefully you guys are Okay, you saw it. Super. Hopefully you guys are also making use of the word of the day every day. Please do. You need to. That's one other way of expanding your vocabulary. It's a great way to learn words and quickly apply it in an exercise by taking a quiz, right? It helps register. Yes, that one, Nishi. Yeah, so go check it out on the discussion forum. That's about it. Thank you guys for your time, and welcome to all those who have recently joined us. Please explore the portal, take advantage of the resources, and I will see you guys in our next session. Yeah. Bye bye.